Shadow work is the process of acknowledging, coming to terms with, and eventually integrating, dark, or repressed aspects of your personality. Usually, these aspects are repressed because you feel ashamed of them for whatever reason, to the point where you try to disassociate them from your conscious identity. When you encounter them, in yourself or other people, your knee-jerk reaction is, "That's not me, that can't be me." But it is you. Ignoring your shadow and disassociating it will not make it go away, which is why it must be addressed and reintegrated into your conscious personality. It's not easy to do that, for a lot of reasons. First of all, it's really difficult to realize what these repressed aspects are in the first place because, well, they're subconscious. In Jungian psychology, the recommended method of doing so was paying attention to projections. If you irrationally hate someone, it may be because they are exhibiting behavior or personality traits that you possess but refuse to acknowledge. If you get defensive when confronted with this person, or when someone suggests you might be like this person, or when you consider if you have similar traits, that tends to be a dead giveaway. Anything you get defensive about likely is rooted in something shadow-related. A phrase I've been using lately is, "We are all our own inverses." I don't think it's accurate to say that your shadow is your opposite. It's not your opposite, because it's definitely still you. It's you, but backwards. It's still too much like you to be the polar opposite of you, but it reverses your values, which makes it much more disturbing. For example, I value free will and equality, so my shadow is a tyrant who elevates and glorifies himself. Your shadow self is like a dark reflection of your conscious self. It is simultaneously everything you're not and everything you wish you could be. Because the shadow conflicts with your perception of yourself on such a personal level, accepting that it is you is absolutely brutal. I say that, if you're not screaming in anguish, you're not doing it properly, and although I say that partially in jest, shadow work usually does cause an earth-shattering existential crisis the first time. The shadow is a moral problem that challenges the whole ego personality, for no one can become conscious of the shadow without considerable moral effort. To become conscious of it involves recognizing the dark aspects of the personality as present and real. This act is the essential condition for any kind of self-knowledge. This is a quote by Carl Jung, the psychiatrist who first coined the word shadow to mean the aspect of the personality that we choose to repress and reject. Our life experiences, trauma, genetics, conditioning, beliefs, fears and ego are responsible for the repression of aspects of our personality. However deep they may be buried within the subconscious, the froth rises to the surface or is brought out of its box from time to time, resulting in deviant behavior and attitudes. Sometimes it requires deep self-analysis and honest reflection to understand its complexities and confront the truth of its existence. Some examples of aspects of the shadow are aggressive impulses, fetishes, addictions, shameful indulgences, fears, irrational desires, habits, immorality, secret taboos, actions and thoughts that are contrary to our conscious ideas of morality, biases, prejudices, complexes, disorders and dysfunction. It is very difficult to acknowledge the shadow in ourselves. It is sometimes very easy to see it in others because of the subconscious familiarity of it deep within ourselves. This is called projection. We have a much harder time admitting that we are wrong. The difficulty in confronting the unpleasant truth may be so strong that we remain silent, closed off and unaware of its presence. The mind and ego blocks off all evidence of our shortcomings to protect itself and prevent the experience of pain. However, it cannot completely remove the thoughts, emotions and memories. Instead, it buries them somewhere deep in our subconscious where they are not seen. Our society teaches us that certain behaviors, emotional patterns, sexual desires, lifestyle choices, etc. are inappropriate. These inappropriate qualities are usually those that disrupt the flow of a functioning society, even if that disruption means challenging people to accept things that make them uncomfortable. Anyone who is too challenging becomes outcast, and everyone else moves on. Early in our childhood development, we find where the line between what is socially acceptable and unacceptable is, and we spend the rest of our lives trying to toe it. When we cross that line, as we all frequently do, we suffer the pain of society's backlash. People judge us, condemn us, gossip about us, and the unpleasant emotions that come with this experience can quickly become overwhelming. However, we don't actually need people to observe our deviances to suffer for them. Eventually, we internalize society's backlash so deeply that we inflict it on ourselves. The result is that we struggle to change in ways that require us to suppress our base animal instincts without giving them safe outlets through which to manifest. In other words, we push our failures into the unconscious, where we can ignore them and go on pretending to be the people society wants us to be. We get to pretend to be enlightened without actually doing the deep inner work that it takes to move through the developmental process. Shadow work, then, is the process of making the unconscious conscious. It is defining a value system that we adopt as a basis for our lifestyles. It is a process of digging for the truth, measuring the truth up against our value systems and adjusting accordingly. It is a constant process of checking in and adjusting. It is a regular and honest life audit.